Previously, we looked at how the animation can be useful to, for example, look at bottlenecks in your process. Now, let's look into this a little bit deeper, how to do a proper bottleneck analysis. And I'll show you how to do this in Disco. So what you can see here is the process visualization with the mean durations. That's what people like to do. They like to see the average times that activities and the waiting times between activities take in the process. And it's a good view, a useful view, but you have to be careful because what can happen is that some of these paths that might appear to be very long can be quite low frequent, right? With process mining, you see all paths in the process, those that occur very often, but also those that maybe just happen once or twice. Now, for example, here in this process, we see that there's two big areas where we see a lot of delays. We see this one here with 8.5 days and this one here with 10.5 days average waiting time. So on first sight, it looks like this is the biggest problem area. But if we are looking at the frequency, we will see that, oh, actually, does not happen that often, right? It's at least much less frequent than this other loop, which happens 10 times as often. So cumulatively, if you take the durations and the frequency into account, this is going to be a bigger problem area for this process. Now, one good way to take this into account, to take both the frequency and the performance information into account, is to go to the to go to the total duration and choose the total duration as your primary metric. What this does is it adds up all the delays for all the cases. So automatically you take both frequency and the actual time into account, and you're guided visually by color and by thickness to the right place, right? So we clearly see here this is the biggest problem area in our process. The only problem with that is that this adds up very quickly to very large numbers like years or months. So here we see 12 years. So if you want to get a sense, well, how long does it typically take, that's not that useful. So what you can do to alleviate that is to add a secondary metric. So here at the bottom, we can add back, for example, the mean duration. And what happens now is that the visualization is still guided by the total duration. So you're still guided visually to the right places where the biggest impact resides, but in small font just below or behind for the activities, you see also, in this case, the average duration or any other secondary metric you have chosen. So, yeah, so that's a little tip that you keep in mind when you're analyzing bottlenecks in your process. Don't just look at the mean duration, but also look at the combination of total duration and, for example, mean duration to keep your focus on the right places in the process. I hope that was useful. Thanks, everyone. Bye.